Yo, what is going on, guys? So this is a bit of a different video than I usually make. This is actually a tutorial on how I make my montages. I've got multiple requests since a week after I started YouTube. How do I make my montages and how do I edit them? Now obviously my editing has evolved over the time into a completely different style, and now my montages are a lot better with different color correction effects that I use and a ton of stuff like that. And the software that I use is Adobe Premiere Pro. But the specific tutorial that I'm going to be going through is applicable to all editing softwares, whether free or expensive. This can be done in After Effects, this can be done, so do not worry about the different editing software. Everything is pretty much the same regarding this tutorial. This is really just about mouse DPI and lighting and positioning. So what I'm going to be teaching you today is how to get the perfect cinematics for your montages. Now I'm sure that you've seen in a ton of YouTube montages, a ton of different gaming highlights for Valorant, you've seen different cinematics that actually just look really nice, and I'm sure you're like, wow, I really want to know how I can get that to sync really well and to flow really well, and that's what I'm going to be showing you in this video. So I personally, in my game settings, I play with 4000 DPI on my mouse, which is really high DPI. So to get a really smooth flowing cinematic clip, what you want to do is change your DPI to go lower. I would say around 400 to 800 DPI would be really good. So what I'm doing right now is I'm opening my software for my mouse. I use the Logitech G402. So in Logitech G Hub, or whatever you use to adjust your mouse sensitivity or mouse DPI, just go into that and then change it from whatever it is to 800 to 400 DPI. And this will come out for smoother things that goes just straight upwards or straight side to side, rather than kind of like crooked cinematics, because even a slight crookedness in them just doesn't look really good in editing or post-production. So what you want to do for this specific thing, if you don't have any friends to do it with like me, just go ahead and go into your custom games, and this is actually the best way to do it because you don't need anyone to position directly for you, and you have pretty good control over your mouse movement. Now go ahead and play on whatever server you want, make sure cheats are on, and then go to the specific map that you want to have your cinematic in. Now I'm actually going to have my cinematic in split, and your agent selection doesn't matter, you can actually pick whatever agent you would like. Alright, now just go ahead to your cheats, and then turn the pause match timer on. Alrighty, so once you've done all of that, the best thing that you could do right now is just turn all of your... The easy way to do this is to just go into General, and then go ahead and go to this setting down here. It's at the bottom, and it says Hide User Interface in Game. Turn that on. It should be off by default, but you just want to turn this on, and what that'll do is it'll completely destroy all of your HD except for your crosshair. Now for your crosshair, just go over into your crosshair settings, and then change your outline opacity if you have it to 0, and then go ahead and then change everything that you have to 0, and this should go ahead and eliminate your crosshair. Alrighty, so once you've done all of that, just pull out your knife, and for me I use a sword, and this will go and this will actually go for a basic knife as well, but it's generally you want to use the center of your screen, crop out the edges and the bottom and the top. So you're actually going to use roughly 1/4 of the actual footage you capture. So you're only going to be using the center of what you actually capture, and that's going to be this area right here. So what you're going to be doing is just start right here, whatever you want to be capturing, aim it in the center, and then you can start by looking down or by looking up. If you're looking up, go forward while looking down, it'll look really nice. Or if you're starting by looking down, go forward by looking up. And this is generally how cinematics are produced. I actually find the ones in the sky going around in the center like this to be really bad and poorly made. So don't put those in your montages because they aren't going to look super good. And the reason that you want to start by looking down, going up, is because it has a really nice effect to it once you have added all of the color correction post-processing. And that's just fancy talk for after you're done editing. And the reason that you want to go like this is because this makes for really nice seamless transitions, which pretty much means that it's your flow, it looks really smooth, and that's it. So I'm going to take my cinematic from right here, and I'm just going to start by looking down, And I'm not gonna look all the way down because there's no really point in that. I'm gonna start by looking at an angle downward. So we're starting right here, and we're gonna walk forward holding shift while slowly revealing the map while walking upward, and we just put our mouse up and we're done. So that's our cinematic 1. Now we're going to need a couple more cinematics, which I can just get quickly using the exact same methods that I just showed you guys. And I'm sure you've also seen the things where they get the cinematics in the air. This is done by using ghost mode, which if you look in your cheat settings, if you don't know how to get there, it'll say ghost, and your ghost keybind is going to be at the top. So mine right now is L because I don't use my L key. So you can start right here, and then just go ahead by aiming up like that. Now, if you notice in the last cinematic, we actually finished by looking at the sky, and there wasn't too much crowding in the sky. Now, this is where your transitions get pretty, so you want to look for somewhere that's kind of open in the sky. So this spot right here looks like really open, looks really beautiful, so we're going to use this right here. And what we're going to do is we're going to start by looking up, and we're going to go backwards by looking down. Now, if that's not natural to you and you usually do it by looking down going upwards, there's a really easy method to do this. You just start by looking downward, going upwards, and then after you're done recording, you go into your editing software and you actually just reverse the clip. Alright, so we're here in our editing software, and this is where all of the magic happens, where all of the color correction happens, where all of the different parts really come together, and it looks like a really good portion of your video. So I'm going to go ahead and play the audio for the song right now that I chose, and this is Sun Goes Down by Jim Yosef and Roy Knox. Two great artists that produce music for no copyright sounds, which is also a great YouTube channel to get your songs from. I recommend going and checking them out if you would like good non-copyright songs for your montages. But I'm just going to go ahead and play the audio clip for you right now. So you're going to notice that this looks kind of slow right here. So what we want to do is actually speed this up. So go over here. Like I said, if you don't use Premiere Pro, don't worry. This is a pretty advanced software, but this will work for any software. Just go ahead and change your speed. This is my speed panel right here. And then make it anywhere from 150% to 200%. Right now I'm just going to go ahead and try 200 and see how that looks. So right now I'm going to just mute the music. And this is how our thing looks right now. It looks a little bit rushed, to be honest. So we can probably just drop this to 150%. And this actually looks a lot better. So as you can see, this is a really nice cinematic that we have right here. And at the end, you notice that the reason that I was curving gradually, and then I suddenly stop and I'm like curving upward like this, is because I actually need to speed this end part up when I start to curve, and that's going to be our really nice transition. So we're just going to go ahead and bump this up to 500, and this looks like it's going to be pretty fast. And yes, that looks really good. And now for the second one, what I was saying earlier about the reversing, if you do not feel comfortable going from up to down, and instead you want to go down to up, just go ahead, any editing software, again, in mine, it's actually in speed again. Just reverse the speed or make the media go backwards to where it's actually in reverse. And then click OK. And you're actually going to start from up in the sky, and then you're going to be going back down. You can see right here that our media goes down to looking at the floor, and then we're down looking at the floor again. Now this is a really good transition for when we want to speed up looking down at the floor, and it goes fast like this. And that will look really good in editing. As you can see right here, if it goes fast, it looks pretty seamless. So now we have our cinematic right here, and it looks really nice. So now the thing is, you see our hands and you see our little sword. So what we want to go ahead and do is just go to crop. You should have this crop effect on pretty much any software at all. but you can actually leave left and probably go around just 15%, 10% on that. And then the top, obviously, we could probably just narrow that down just a tiny bit right there. And then our bottom, obviously, we need to cover the hands, so that's going to be a lot. And then right, we need to cover our sword. So now we just want to fit this in with everything, and it's okay if some spots are left open to the side. Just zoom that in, and you should look pretty good like this. And you should have a pretty good cinematic for yourself. This looks really nice. And then just go ahead and do the same for this effect. I just copied this effect, and we can just go in and then copy our position as well. And then with your last clip, obviously, you can just put in the same motion or positions, and that should look really nice. And then with your second ones, you obviously want to speed these up as well. So 150 for this one, and this looks like a really nice cinematic. And then obviously at this last part where it's curving down, you want to make that look like sped up a little bit more than usual. And you're going to take this and then just zoom in, and we can just go ahead and do 500. And then take this and just put it to 500, because this is also going to be our opening. And then just smash these together, and then we have a really good opening right there. And when we put all of our clips together, you're going to see some really good transitions. Obviously, they're not done, but I'm going to show you what they look like so far. Now, there are actually some glitches in this system right now, and it's a software issue. It's not an issue with the actual processing. This will work on your softwares, but there's just some little glitch where it looks a little bit laggy. It won't actually look like that in real productions, though, so you don't have to worry. Now, with a lot of cinematics, a lot of people like to do this, where it looks like it's like a widescreen kind of area where they leave the black bars at the top and bottom. But for now, I'm just actually going to keep it like this. But so far, like with the transitions and everything, this will actually work really well. Now, I know most softwares have a motion blur effect. In Premiere Pro, it's called directional blur. So I'm going to go ahead and drag this on to this spot right here, and onto both of those, and where our transition is going to be. Alright, so we're going to have a lot of motion blur from this point right here. And right here, it's going to be about 2 length. Just add a little bit of blur to that. And up here, it'll be about 15 length. So that'll add some good amount of blur right here, and that'll make your transition look really good. Now, the same thing with here. Since we had 15 on that one, we will want to go ahead and add 15 on this one. And right up here at the end, we're going to have this as now we have some good blur right here, some good blur effects, and while we're zooming in, it looks really fast, so we add some good blur, and that looks really nice. Now, the next thing you want to do to make any cinematic look good is some color correction. So just drag any color correction you want on there, and the Premiere Pro is called Lumetri Color. So you want to just put that on your thing, and this is going to make it look really, really nice. You have basic things like exposure, which is the brightness. Contrast is a large part of cinematics that we're going to want to use, and this can make them look and feel certain ways that they wouldn't normally. So you want your cinematics, usually you don't want them to be super bright, because bright is never good for cinematics. So I like having my shadows at -50. This gives a nice, good, darker effect to them that they wouldn't have before. This is how it looks normally, and this is after shadows. And then you want to have your contrast about 50 as well, because this adds some nice orangish color. Now add a little bit of saturation to make your thing look a little bit more orange. But in my editing style personally, I like a blue blurish or a purple blurish, so I'm going to just go ahead and go into these colors, and I'm going to change them a little bit to be a little bit blue and a little bit purple. So now this has a really nice purplish effect, and it looks really good as a cinematic in general. Now this is without all the colors, and it kind of looks like really bland, so you definitely want to have the same coloring on all of your footage, otherwise it will not look good at all, and it'll be very choppy and just unprofessional. So add this effect, and it will look really, really nice. And as you can see, we've completed our basic transitions in coloring, and the last thing that you want to do for all of your editing is definitely timing with music is by far the most important thing. It doesn't matter too much how good your editing is if you cannot time it to music, and every good editor knows that you need to have good timing. Like I showed you the audio clip of our track before, we're going to go ahead and find the drum points or the beat marks in which we can time our footage to. This is really starts. So we want to start right here, and it's okay if we have a tiny bit of black space in the beginning. Just assume that that's where our writing will go. Just like edited by X24 Paradox or whatever you want to say right there, and we can just go ahead and start. Alrighty, so the next spot that it goes right here is when he says circles. So right here, so we want to have our change at this spot. So it's already pretty close to our change point, so we don't need to change too much, other than that we might need to make our thing 550% in order to create a little bit more room. So we can actually just bump this up to 600 just to create that extra little space, and then this will be timed. And again, just adjust your time however you want it to be, just so it's perfectly in sync with your clip. Alright, perfect. And now it transitions right as the different beat point changes. So this is exactly what we want. So we're going to go ahead and mark our transition point, which is this frame right here, where it goes from this spot on the ground to this spot on our other ground. So we want to kind of have that lined up with this spot right here. So we're going to take this and just scooch it over. We can just make it 100 because that looks like it'll fit really well. So our next beat point is going to be right here, where he says fight. So we're going to speed this up by 500, and this will be a good point to stop. So right here, unlike the others where we're trying to make a transition, we don't have to speed this up by 500. Instead, we can just go ahead and find a good transition that matches it. And depending on your editing style, this will vary a lot. But I'm just going to go for a cross dissolve right here, from when he says beginning a fight to end a fight. This is where it ends, so we're going to just drag this up to here, and then position our cross dissolve right there. So what you've learned in this editing lesson is how to use cinematics for your montage and to make a really good beginning opener. You also learned about color correction, how to sync them perfectly, time them with music, and create flow in your montage. There's nothing stopping you from going ahead and adding certain text on top, saying edited by, and then song name and everything like that. But for now, keeping it basic, this is just the basics of the cinematic captures in Valorant, how you can use them to look good in your montages. So I'm going to be making some more tutorials because this is only one of the many topics I was asked to cover, and I'll see you guys later.